You got to tailor this to you. It's not doing something in a covert contract to earn something, though. Keep that in mind. All right. It's not like, oh, she's pulling away. I better do something special for her because I see this signs. That's not what it is. All you're doing is you're just changing patterns, right? You're changing your behaviors, which puts her in a reactionary mode. The pull away can happen through a triggering event, but usually it's not. It's usually gradual. Triggering event could be you say something a little bit off that makes her go, oh, and then just like in the dating thing. So I'll give an example. I'll give one from my LTR situation. Because of what I do, when chicks would see me, they start binge watching my videos. All right. Which is probably, it's not really good, but I mean, it is what happens. There's nothing I care to do about it. And so, it was very beginning. My girlfriend, we'll say, was a casual sex partner, more or less, right? We're just plate, right? We call it dating, whatever. And we were talking about, the casualness, and I stated something like, well, casual relations, casual things are good. They always have the potential to grow into something else. We're seeing each other, whatever, which is very casual, just bang each other, have fun, and we go home. But I mean, there's always potential that this could turn into something else. And that's good. That's what's good. That's what can happen with casual things. Said something like that. It was just in conversation. That triggered a crisis point for her, and I didn't hear from her for like a day. All right. I didn't mean to signal like relationship signals. I was speaking very generally. But that little comment got the hamster wheel going. Now, at the time, too, she was really attracted to me, really falling hard for me, really into me sexually. And she also knew I had to leave soon. I had to leave for deployment to Afghanistan at the time. And it was like we only saw each other for like 5 weeks. Now, she chose to be with me and continue to sort of want to be with me when I left, and she ended up really choosing to drop off all of her options and keep a relationship with me while I was in Afghanistan. That was her choice. And then that further developed. But beginning, she was just wanting to get sex and have a good time. And then here, like that little thing I said triggered, oh no. And then it was like, I'm really into this guy, but I might need to end it now. Because see, her whole life plans did not involve a guy being in Afghanistan and her more or less pining for this dude until he comes back and then being in a relationship. Hopefully, like that was not her life plan. So this caused like a little crisis for her. And then she had to like pull back and get clarity and think about it. Now, I noticed it because I noticed the shift in her behavior. I noticed she went from texting a bunch to like not texting, right? So what did I do? Did I freak out and start texting her a bunch? No. In fact, I went, oh, I said to myself, remember I said, there it is. That's a crisis point. I knew it was a crisis point. And dating girls will have these crisis points. When she really starts to like you, she'll go, oh crap, I'm really falling for this dude. What should I do next? And then she talks to her friends or whatever. She starts trying to figure it out. And she'll want to pull away from you during that time. Let her do it. You need to let her figure herself out. Okay. So that was an example of a triggering event, which caused her to pull away. Didn't last very long. It just, her pattern changed for a little bit. And then she texted me about something random about it was like a day later. And then I just was like, yo, whatever. And set the next time meet up. And then we just proceeded with our casual thing that we had. Not a big deal. Now, if I had smothered her at all, if I had texted her, what's going on, tried to get, if I showed any neediness, she would have recognized that and she probably wouldn't be with me today. I mean, it's that fragile in the beginning. So you got to be able to have the strength to be able to pull back and let these things sort themselves out. Okay. But sometimes though, in relationship, especially, it's just a gradual thing. It's part of things start to get into a little bit of a status quo for her or whatever, or she just starts, just starts wanting to question things. And then you'll notice just that pullback will start to happen. And there's some gradual small things that'll happen beforehand. And then she'll do the pullback and take a break from you essentially. And then if you don't chase and you just stay on your point of origin, what you want to actually do is get more heavily into your own activities. When you get more heavily into your own activities, that sends the message to her hindbrain that you're higher value than she is. All right, you're better than her essentially. Now, it's not about whether it's intrinsic value, any of that stuff. I don't want women to freak out on me. How dare you say that men are better than women? It's not that, okay? It's just that it sends that message to her instinctual brain that you're the prize. So when she pulls away and you're not trying to put more attention into her, and instead you actually put less attention into her, then it gets to a point, and it might be, 12 hours later, it could be 3 or 4 days later, she goes, man, okay. And then she'll sort of reach out for some reason and she'll start wanting more of your attention. And when she wants more of your attention, then you can start to reward that again with your attention, right? But you put her in that position to get attention from you when she wants it. And that's good, okay? Don't freak out when these things happen. They just happen. But it's good to predict it beforehand because, so here's some signs that you'll notice for the beforehand thing. You'll notice her text pattern will change. So texting and even social media is good because you'll notice when the pull away is happening, you'll just see a change in pattern. So you want to recognize what her baseline is first, and then you'll notice a change that's off of baseline. So if she texts you a lot, okay, and then all of a sudden that just pulls back a little bit, or the nature of her text or the length of them or even the topics or subject matters change, you know that there's a pullback that's going to be coming in the future. Now, don't try to be over predictive and then miss predictions all the time. Compare it to the other times that she's pulled back before, right? You'll notice things. These aren't things necessarily meaning she's going to look for other dudes, okay? That's not how it actually works. It's just she doesn't know she's even doing this half the time. If you are to ever call her out on it, which do not do, she'll defend herself and see you as insecure, weak, and all that because she doesn't recognize this is happening, okay? And she'll say, well, I'm just busy, or I had a long day, or which brings to the next thing. You'll notice in a bit of a disconnect. So you'll notice her being very emotionally engaged to a little bit, it's a slight disconnection, not a big one, but it's just a little bit, okay? She'll say things like, God, I'm tired, or I had a long day, and that's off of baseline. So if normally she's having pretty normal, enthusiastic, whatever, chill conversations with you when you guys go out, and then a lot of her things are talking about how tired she is or how long her day is, or, she starts getting into more complaints a little bit, starts getting into a little bit more hardship stuff, right? That's an indicator that a pullback is on its way. All right. And it could have nothing to do with you. It could have just everything to do with what she's got going on. But that's an indicator that pullback might be coming. All right. When you get into too much of a set routine, and then you notice a little bit of that enthusiasm coming down, that's when you know a pullback is on its way. So these are some examples. These are all things you can recognize. All right. So that's something you can notice, and then you can start to shift your gears early. When you shift your behavior early, then that puts her now in we'll say on the defensive, but I don't mean defense, but it puts her in the reactionary mode to what you're doing. So if you're doing, everything's going like normal patterns, and all of a sudden you notice some of these signs, you break the pattern and you change something that you're doing, whether it's your own behavior or with her, all of a sudden, now it puts her in a reactionary mode. And I don't mean toxic, but just reacting. Okay. So, some examples of changing patterns or behavior might be like you pulling away first would be one way, which you get busy all of a sudden. Here could be an example like in a marriage. All right. Let's do a typical married couple thing. Let's say she's usually the person who cleans the house mostly, and she does dinner a lot. Okay, that's just her thing that she does. But let's say you both work or whatever. Well, so one random day, and I'm not saying to do chore play to earn her back. So let me finish, because I'm just going to say that right now as a caveat. Let's say one day she comes home that you clean the shit out of the entire house, and then you make dinner. All right. And she's like, wow, what got into you? Nah, the house has just been getting a little out of control. I just had a minute. I thought I'd just mess with it, clean it. How, whatever. How was your day? Like very nonchalant. Okay. And then you made some dinner, whatever. That's cool. You're like, well, I got plans tonight though. I'm going to lounge. I'm meeting up with a couple guys later. And it's like a Tuesday night. You usually don't go out on a Tuesday night or something. Like that would be an example of a pattern change. And maybe you bang her, right before or after dinner too. And then you go off, right? So that puts her in like, wow, did you clean the house? Like what got in it? What's going on, right? Hamster wheel. All right. You didn't do anything wrong. In fact, you did a lot of things that are pretty cool. I mean, what happened? You cleaned a house, made dinner, banged her, but then you went off with your friends too, right? And maybe you have some things going on in a couple of days. Let's say, well, yeah, I'm going to hit my my jujitsu class real heavy next couple of days. So whatever, you know what I mean? And it's what you say. Now you're not bargaining for it. You're not saying I'm doing this so that I can do that. That's not what it is. She might come home and you're not even home, where, and you throw her a text. I'm at, meeting up at a lounge with a couple dudes, had some stuff to talk about. She's like, oh, okay, whatever. And then she's wondering like what's going on. And then you do some spontaneous sex or whatever and have a really cool night spontaneously, like 3 or 4 days later. Like there's a lot of, and I'm just throwing different ideas out there, but the key is it's different, it's off pattern. And they're all based on things that you want to do. Sometimes I just want to clean, even though my chick cleans a lot, whatever. Like sometimes I just want to clean the place. You know what I mean? And so I just do it. It's just spontaneous. I enjoy cooking. That's something I enjoy doing. Now, maybe you don't enjoy cooking, so maybe you order some food out, whatever. You got to tailor this to you. It's not doing something in a covert contract to earn something, though. Keep that in mind. All right. It's not like, oh, she's pulling away. I better do something special for her because I see this signs. That's not what it is. All you're doing is you're just changing patterns, right? You're changing your behaviors, which puts her in a reactionary mode. But you're breaking away from that status quo. And especially if things have gotten dull and more in a schedule, you do something that's more like a courting behavior at some point in that, meaning do something different, go to a concert, go to a thing, do something spontaneous. Spontaneous sex, though, is the best way. Doing something different, sexually than what you've been doing, or bring that to the table. Those can be fun too, right? And sometimes it's just pulling away before she does, but you don't want to be in patterns. So every time she pulls away, you pull away first. You don't want to create a new pattern that then becomes a predictive pattern. You see what I'm saying? And so that's some methods and some things that you can do. Basically, though, advanced would be to be able to recognize it beforehand and then start doing something different. And so that puts her in a reactionary mode, not in a negative way or a toxic way, but just kind of like where she's curious, wondering what's happened next, right? What's happening next. And that can put her off center. And instead of pulling away now, she is now desiring you more and maybe wanting more of your attention, and she's now in this unpredictable state, not in a bad way where it's insecurity, but where it's, things just became more spontaneous. That creates that variety. And you can do this while dating as well, too. All right. So like in the dating market, she's, well, I'm not so sure. Like maybe I'll come over tonight or whatever. So you're getting that kind of thing. All of a sudden, hey, I can't tonight. I got something going on. We'll do something. We'll make up for it. We'll catch up or whatever, and then pull away for the entire weekend. And if you're dating other women, just see other women during that time. And so that's a way to do it. When you start to notice that desire going down or that that questioning, you just get on in the dating phase. You just get on your own stuff. Real simple. And then maybe you're on your own stuff. You kind of cancel plans, or you sort of ghosted a conversation. I mean, ghosted, but let it drop off. And she's used to you just texting. Like the last 3 weeks, you've just texted to set plans, and then you go out, do some stuff, and then don't talk too much. But then the next week you do the same thing, text, set plans. So that's the pattern you set. All of a sudden, the pattern is you don't text at all to set plans. But then maybe on a Thursday, you're like, hey, what are you doing right now? Oh, nothing. Just sitting here, whatever. Oh, cool. Come over, whatever. And you're just like spontaneous, come over right now, and then you ever come over and you just, do just some really orgasmic sex with her, you know what I mean? And just random, stuff like that. So these are things you can do while dating, being really spontaneous. A lot of guys try to over game the texting and the setting of the dates thing. What that does is you end up creating patterns, makes you less predictable. So don't follow some of these rules. Just be aware of where she's at. So, for example, let's say you meet a new girl, you get her digits, and she's really hot. And you had a really good interaction. You did it like it was a in-person game situation. Okay. Well, then you're like, next day you're like, hey, it was awesome meeting you. I want to continue. I got some time today. Come over, or come meet me here today. Whatever. You're literally asking her next day date. Now you're gonna get one of two reactions. She might be like, yeah, cool. And she's like, oh yeah, awesome. Now remember, this is based on the previous interaction working really well. Now, a lot of dating coaches will go, don't ever do that. Oh, you can't do that. You gotta wait, because you're too busy, blah, blah, whatever. Listen, if you want if you're pretty sure that you can close a deal and you want to bang this girl and you're pretty sure she wants to bang you, who cares? You calibrate it. Now, let's say you're like, one of two things is going to happen. She's either going to meet up with you or she's not. And maybe she's like, oh, I can't today or whatever. You're like, cool, no worries. I usually don't have this kind of space in my schedule. We'll do it. We'll do it some other time, or whatever. You know, when you say we'll do it some other time, you say, no worries. I usually don't have that. I had a little bit of space of seeing what you're doing. And then let the conversation drop off. Don't talk about going out another time or like, oh, what are you doing next week? Don't do a secondary close. Just drop it, and then she doesn't hear from you the entire weekend. And then you're texting her after that later, then it's a normal just normal text initiation, building a little bit of curiosity and investment, and then doing a normal close. Different, right? Because you decided, because you're an alpha male in your own mental point of origin, and you decided, damn, I don't have a date tomorrow, which is weird. And so I met this girl. She's hot. Maybe she's available. Oh, I don't know. Okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. Just checking to see I had a little bit of space, whatever. And then nothing, then you don't have to do anything. Then you open her up again. It's fine. You see what I mean? Like it's like if she had a bad reaction thinking, oh, this guy's too desperate, that's what it was. You mitigate that by not contacting her for several days, doing your own thing, but I'm not saying to try to close every girl the next day. You get what I mean? The point is not to be predictable. All right. And then maybe, even from the first meeting, now maybe you meet this girl and, you don't have time the next day, or you just didn't get the vibe that you would want that her buy-in was high enough for her to hang out with you and drop her plans to see you the next day. That's fine. Then do a normal thing, where you open and try to close. This can also happen too, like in the initial texting and stuff, you do a close. She's like, not sure. That's fine. Little talk, let it go, reopen. Don't try to close it all. Let it go. She reopens you, let it go. You open her, then close. See, these things can happen where it keeps her guessing. She doesn't know the game. That puts you in control of the game.